So you gotta ask yourself, is taking more medication always better for your health? I know, it sounds kind of counterintuitive at first, right? I mean, when we get sick, we go to the doctor, we get a prescription, and we expect to get better. But what happens when you have 2, 3, or maybe even 5 different doctors, and literally every single one of them prescribes something new? Do more pills actually equal better health, or do they just create a whole new set of problems? We're going to challenge that assumption right out of the gate today. Because out in the real world, especially for aging patients, piling up medications is becoming a massive healthcare crisis. Welcome to today's Explainer. I'm super thrilled to have you here because we're diving into a truly fascinating shift happening right now in modern medicine. We're going to explore how artificial intelligence is stepping into the clinic. And no, not to replace your doctor, but to completely rethink how medication and clinical decisions are actually managed. It's an incredible story of how we can turn overwhelming, chaotic data into life-saving clarity. Okay, here's our roadmap for today. First, polypharmacy and alert fatigue. Then, AI bridges the decision gap. Next, assisting physician clinical decisions, followed by key opportunities for deprescribing, and finally, the future of hybrid healthcare. Let's jump right in. Section 1. Polypharmacy and alert fatigue. To really grasp the solution, we first need to understand a very relatable struggle that happens in hospitals and clinics every single day. If you've ever had to help an aging family member manage a pill box that looks more like a tackle box, well, you already know exactly what we're talking about here. The medical term for this is polypharmacy. Essentially, it's the concurrent use of multiple medications by a single patient. As folks age and develop chronic conditions, they often see multiple specialists, and over time, those prescriptions just pile up. Piling on these meds creates some incredibly dangerous risks. We're talking severe drug-to-drug interactions, adverse medical events, and something called non-adherence. That basically just means the medication schedule gets so complicated or so expensive that the patient simply gives up and stops taking their pills entirely. Now, hospitals absolutely know this is a huge problem. They use software called clinical decision support, or CDS systems, to help. But here's the catch. Traditional CDS systems act kind of like a broken alarm clock. They're strictly rule-based. They focus entirely on easy-to-compute data. So the computer might notice a patient is on 10 medications and flag a potential interaction, but it completely misses the human clinical context. It has no idea if the patient's kidney function has changed or if they've already tried reducing meds and it didn't work out. Instead of actually helping, the system just generates multiple, isolated, flashing alerts. And honestly, what happens when a doctor is just trying to treat a patient and their computer screen is just flashing warning after warning, pop-up after pop-up? They get what's called alert fatigue. Just imagine trying to do your job with a car alarm blaring right next to your head all day. Doctors become totally numb to this excessive bombardment of warnings. The result? They routinely start to ignore or override them, which means a truly critical life-saving warning could easily get lost in all that noise. Section 2. AI bridges the decision gap. Now, this is where the story gets really good, because technology created this overwhelming noise in the first place, but a new type of technology, artificial intelligence, is uniquely positioned to actually fix it. We are shifting from an era of rigid rules to an era of intelligent synthesis. We're moving away from systems that just yell error and generate way too many alerts to systems that actually provide meaningful clinical decisions. Because simply identifying a potential drug problem is definitely not the same thing as supporting a real clinical decision. AI bridges that exact gap. Instead of throwing 10 different pop-ups at a doctor, AI acts as a smart, peaceful integration layer. Think of it like a brilliant, hyper-organized personal assistant. It goes out and gathers all the scattered data from all over the hospital's different systems. It pulls from electronic health records, the medication lists, the actual pharmacy dispensing records, recent lab values, the doctor's typed clinical notes, and even messages the patient sent through the patient portal. It takes all of that chaotic, messy data and beautifully summarizes it into one single clear picture. Section 3. Assisting physician clinical decisions. So let's make this totally concrete. What exactly does this AI assistance look like when you put it directly into a doctor's hands during a really busy shift? How does it actively assist with clinical decisions? Well, just listen to this AI-generated summary. This is exactly what a doctor would read instead of seeing a dozen blinking red flags. Patient takes 11 medications from 3 specialists. 2 meds have not been recently dispensed. Patient reports dizziness in the last 6 months and 2 falls.
Recent blood pressure is low. Patient portal notes indicate they want to take fewer pills. Recommend reassessing antihypertensive medications. I mean, do you see how incredibly powerful that is? The technology completely shifts the focus from what is mathematically wrong to what should we consider next to actually help this human being.
And that right there highlights why AI is so uniquely suited for this job. It finds those hidden, patient-centric insights that get buried deep inside unstructured text, stuff like a doctor's quick clinical notes or a patient's emails. A traditional software system can't compute fear, but AI? AI can read a note and recognize that a patient is terrified of adverse reactions, or that they have a really hard time swallowing large pills, or maybe they have financial concerns that stop them from filling a prescription. This brings true, empathetic, patient-centric care right back to the very center of the clinic. Section 4. Key opportunities for deprescribing. Okay, this brings us to what is perhaps the most practical and frankly life-changing application of this technology. Once the AI has integrated all this data and uncovered these amazing insights, it allows doctors to safely execute something called deprescribing. And deprescribing is exactly what it sounds like. It's the careful medical process of safely reducing or even entirely stopping medications that are no longer beneficial to the patient, or worse, that might actually be causing them harm. It's a vital medical intervention designed to reduce the physical side effects and the massive mental burden on patients, but it is notoriously difficult for a doctor to do on their own without having the complete picture. And that is exactly where AI shines. It actively flags clear opportunities for deprescribing by looking for very specific clues in the patient's history. For example, it looks for medications that have literally no documented medical indication in the chart. It flags overlapping therapies where two drugs are basically doing the exact same thing. It highlights medications that might be linked to recent falls or adverse events. It even notices if a prescription hasn't been picked up from the pharmacy recently, meaning the patient isn't taking it anyway. And it cross-references lists of drugs known to be potentially inappropriate for elderly patients. It takes all these vital clues and hands them to the doctor on a silver platter. But here is absolutely the most crucial point. AI should never, ever independently stop medications. Deprescribing requires assessing a patient's personal goals, their specific disease state, and their preferences. AI does not replace the doctor. It simply organizes that complex web of information and flags the opportunities. This completely empowers the physician and the patient to sit down, look at the evidence together, and collaboratively make the absolute safest choice. Section 5. The future of hybrid healthcare. So, if AI doesn't act alone, how do all these different pieces of technology and human expertise fit together securely in a modern hospital? Well, the answer is a hybrid approach. The safest system isn't pure AI. It's a team effort. Traditional deterministic rules are still perfect for hard stops, like known drug allergies or strict dosing limits. Then, clinical natural language processing, or NLP, is used to extract all that unstructured info from the medical notes. Data integration software links the labs and prescriptions. Then, generative AI steps in to summarize all that data into a concise, readable brief. And at the very top of this pyramid, the clinician, the human who takes all this synthesized data and makes the final decision with the patient. Everyone and everything plays to their exact core strength. But for this hybrid future to be safe and actually trusted, transparency is totally non-negotiable. AI must always show its work. The system has to link back directly to the original medical records so doctors can verify every single piece of information. It's got to clearly distinguish between a hard medical fact and an AI-generated inference. And most importantly, if the evidence is conflicting or if it's just lacking, the AI must explicitly express uncertainty. We can never, ever rely on a system that confidently hallucinates a recommendation, right? It has to know exactly what it doesn't know. This quote right here beautifully summarizes the core takeaway of our entire explainer today. The value of AI depends on whether it can help medical professionals make better decisions without adding workload. The true future value of AI in clinical decision support isn't about how many jobs it can automate. It completely depends on whether it can empower medical professionals to make better, safer decisions without adding to their already massive workload. It's all about clarity, not replacement. Ultimately, AI enables a really profound mindset shift in medicine. Instead of a computer just asking, hey, does this patient have any medication alerts? The AI empowers the doctor to ask this much more powerful question. In the current moment, considering all their history, their fears, and their goals, what is the most appropriate medication decision for this unique patient? And that right there is the real future of truly patient-centric care. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today, and keep asking the big questions.